And yes, my hair is like soaking wet because I just got out of the shower and I didn't feel like doing it to film the video. Hello and welcome back to my channel. So I decided that I'm going to start a new like mini series kind of just about flight school training and what to expect. I know when I was about to come to flight school, I was kind of looking on the internet for information and I couldn't really find it. I thought for sure people would maybe like vlog about it, but they haven't. So I'm going to create, like I said, this mini series and hopefully someone will find it and think that it's helpful. So for people coming to flight school, unless you're prior enlisted, it's your first kind of experience really getting into your path to become either a naval aviator or a naval flight officer. So in this part 1 video, I'm just going to talk about kind of from when you get your orders until before checking in. So getting your orders to come to NAS Pensacola is your first step. Now your orders are pretty lengthy. They can be like 10 pages long, and it honestly probably just seems like a bunch of jibber jabber when you just look at it, but there's a lot of important information in there. So the first thing that I would suggest is printing out a copy of your orders, or maybe put it up on a note-taking app on your tablet or on your laptop, and just gonna go through and like highlight or underline some of the important information that you find. So some of the important information that I would highlight would be like your order number, the UICs for your next station and the station that you're currently at, your estimated date of departure, estimated date of arrival, like no earlier than arrive date or no later than arrive date if those are applicable. Also any phone numbers that are in your orders. They usually give you points of contacts within your orders for your next station, so that's really helpful because it's all right there. You shouldn't have to look it up. And then really just any other information that requires an action from you. Like I said, orders can be really difficult to read through, especially for the first time. So read through it once, read through it twice, maybe 3 times, and then if you still have some questions about the information that's in your orders, that's when you can reach out to your lieutenants or whoever your division officers, superiors are at that time. So the next thing that you're going to want to plan out is your move. So you can do a move one of 2 ways. So one is a personally procured move, or a PPM. This is what's often referred to as the Diddy move. It's a do-it-yourself move. You purchase your own moving supplies, you pack all of your stuff up, and you figure out how you're going to get your stuff from point A to point B, whether that's hiring your own professional movers or if you just want to rent a U-Haul and do it yourself. The other way is just to have the Navy do it for you. Really simple. You can either box up your own items and then the Navy movers will come to your place of residence and they will pack it up for you. They will move it from point A to point B. Or you can opt to have the movers literally pack up your entire place for you, and there's pretty much nothing you have to do except get yourself from point A to point B. Now, when I came to NAS Pensacola, I did a PPM, so I did the move myself. Honestly, I probably will not do it that way again. It was just like a lot more added stress trying to get everything together yourself. I think the next time I move, I am just gonna have the Navy do it. I'm gonna pack up everything in my own boxes and then have it ready for them to go pick up and bring to my next station. But I do know people who have just gone ahead and done a Navy move right off the bat, and these are some of the tips I've gotten from them. So 1, take pictures of all of the boxes, especially your high value items. And then you also might just want to, write down on a list all of your high value items. And the reason this is really important is because if any of your property gets damaged in the move because of the movers, then you're able to submit a claim afterwards. But it's really important that you have this information for proof, just saying like, hey, I do own this property and it was in this condition prior to moving, but now it's in this condition. Additionally, it takes weeks for a household goods shipment to get to your new station, so highly recommend planning that out where the movers will come and pick up your shipment even 2 weeks in advance to when you're actually departing from your current station. So once you've figured out how you're going to move yourself from your current residence, you want to figure out your housing in Pensacola. So for starters, I would definitely recommend getting in contact with someone you know who's currently in Pensacola. So whether it's, someone who you went through ROTC with, someone you went through the Naval Academy with, someone you went to OCS with, there's probably someone you know who's at NAS Pensacola. And if there's not, then you definitely want to reach out to others to figure out how you can get in contact with someone who's currently in Pensacola. So once you found that contact, you can just ask them, where they lived. Maybe they could have some suggestions for you. Maybe they know someone who's looking for another roommate. There's also a large private Facebook group for student naval aviators and student naval flight officers, so they can add you to that group and you can kind of get in touch with some other people that way. And obviously you always have the option to take house hunting leave. So I will say I kind of went through this process during COVID, so I did not take house hunting leave just because there were a lot of travel restrictions at the time. I mean, it's pretty similar to figuring out where you're going to live in college. You're trying to decide, oh, do I want to be this close to campus and pay this much, or do I want to be a little bit farther away and pay this much? Do I want to have roommates? How many roommates? In regards to the roommate situation, I will say that the turnover here is super high. I mean, once you start school, it's just gonna roll by really fast. And if you're a student flight officer, then you're gonna be staying in Pensacola, while the student naval aviators, they're either gonna be transferring to Milton or to Corpus Christi. So there's just really high turnover. So one, there's probably a place where there are students in flight school living and they're gonna have an opening soon that you can fill. Or if you end up living in a place where you realize you actually don't really get along with your roommates, then one, you're all probably gonna be gone most of the time anyways, whether you're on base studying or just locked in your room studying. And then also they're gonna be leaving soon. You're gonna be leaving soon. So it's not that long, I promise. It really just depends whether you want to use your entire $1,400 of BAH on a single room place, or if you just want to ride it out with some roommates and save some of that money. Now, some pros and cons for living really close to base versus living a little bit further. I decided to live a little bit further from base, so I live about 25 to 30 minutes away. I don't mind the drive in the morning. I don't mind waking up a little bit earlier and having to do that. If getting up early, if those few extra minutes is like a deal breaker for you, then definitely look for places that are closer to base. I know there's one place, I think it's called Angel's Landing, and it is super, super close to base. Like, it is literally on the drive to get into the back gate. So that's about as close as you can get. For me, kind of the one con about that is you are literally only surrounded by military people. So I like living a little bit further away where there's still clearly military people around me, but it's also kind of like family living, and there's a little bit of college students because there's a college nearby, versus living somewhere where literally all of your neighbors are in the military. I think the military community is great, but I want to get away from that sometimes. I don't want to feel like I'm always in work, if that makes any sense. And then if you don't want to figure all of that out beforehand, there's always the option to just wait. So the Navy will automatically reimburse you for 10 days of temporary lodging. So this is where you will be staying at the Navy Lodge on base. The only way that you will be able to stay somewhere that is not the Navy Lodge is if you can provide proof. Usually you just have to go to whoever's at the front desk of the lodge, have them give you proof that they are totally booked up and they don't have rooms available for you, and then you're able to, stay out in town or stay at an Airbnb. And if you do decide to wait it out and not have your housing figured out by the time you get to Pensacola, the Navy also does provide you a reimbursement for up to 90 days of storage. So they call it storage in transit, SIT. So if you get here and you don't have a place to live, You put your stuff in a storage unit. You can submit your receipts for that so that you can be reimbursed for that storage. And this way, you know, you don't have to feel rushed into figuring out a place that you're going to live. Your stuff is in storage and you're gonna get reimbursed for it. So all you have to worry about is your extra lodging expenses that are over 10 days. And I don't know a whole lot about this, but I will say there is a way to get reimbursed for more than 10 days. Again, I'm not like an expert on this. I've just heard that that's possible. So do your own research on that to figure out what you will need and what would qualify you for that. But know that it is something that's possible under certain circumstances. Okay, so all of that was pretty dull and boring, but ultimately Pensacola is a super fun place. At the time of filming this video, we as in NAS Pensacola are in HPCon Charlie because of COVID. So we have travel restrictions. We can't go sit down at a restaurant. We can't go to the beach. We can't go out to non-essential businesses. So I haven't explored Pensacola too much. We did get like a very brief 2-week period where we were able to go out and enjoy all of those things. I can tell you that downtown Pensacola looks really nice. The restaurants all look delicious. I can't really vouch for that. And remember, you know, Pensacola is like an hour, 2 hours from the Destin, Panama City area. So really awesome area there, white sand beaches. But all that being said, Pensacola is, you know, on the west panhandle of Florida. It's not like the nicest, ritziest part of Florida. There are some sketchy parts, so just be careful. Especially be careful if you are figuring out your housing online. You know, make sure that you're picking a place that's not in kind of a sketchy area. And I know that's kind of hard, you know, when you're doing it virtually, but what I actually did was I asked my friend who was in Pensacola at the time, I said, hey, can you just go over to this place and do like a quick tour, FaceTime me, and then maybe just drive around the neighborhood and see like what the area is like. And thankfully they did it for me. So if you do have a really good friend down here who would do that for you, that's also a really good idea, just to kind of figure out the lay of the land. And lastly, if you have any other questions, kind of just wondering what to expect once you get there, call flight management. That number should be on your orders. If not, you can just look it up. Flight management is like the admin hub for all of the ensigns at NAS Pensacola, and it's pretty much run by ensigns and civilians. So if you call and the ensign you're talking to doesn't give you a good answer, doesn't really answer your question, honestly, just call back the next day, even like a few hours later, and you'll probably get someone different who could give you more insight. Not to say that ensigns are stupid, we just don't know everything all the time. So that is part 1, just kind of going over all of like the preliminary stuff before you get to NAS Pensacola. And I will be making new parts to the series kind of as I'm going through this journey. So I hope that this was somewhat helpful for you if you're watching this and you're about to go to NAS Pensacola. Feel free to leave comments down below if you have any other questions. Let me know if this was helpful. Maybe leave questions that you'll have for the future parts to this video series that I'll be making. All of that will help so that I can make content that is beneficial to you. You know, I'm not doing this so that I have a video to watch and look back on. I'm doing this so that you guys have a video, have some kind of reference. So, and like I said, any kind of feedback is great. So with that being said, I will see you in part 2.